what's up everybody? Welcome back to Sunday Morning Shred. I'm your host, Mark Murray. And if it's your first time here, this is the show where you wake up on Sunday, jump out of bed, get off the couch, roll out from under the bench you've been sleeping under. I don't know where you've been sleeping, but you get up, you go to YouTube, grab your coffee, grab your energy drink or whatever you like in the morning. If you like soda, get your water, whatever you like. Then you head to YouTube, turn it on, and Sunday Morning Shred is sitting there waiting for you. I'm always here talking guitars, taking your guys' questions from my other shows that I do, like Trash to Thrash, and answering them over here. Also, I'm here to give you guys like behind the scenes and tell you little secrets that not the other audience on the main channel gets, because I know you guys are the hardcores who love guitar as much as I do. You guys are the hardcore guitar geeks, and I thank you so much for joining me today. So this week on Trash to Thrash was episode 2 of season 4, and I put out the Jackson JSX. It's the first guitar I'd ever seen, or done of course, that had crackle and splatter on the same paint job. And it's an idea I came up with quite a while ago. Most people don't want to use that much paint or that much clear coat on a guitar, I wouldn't think, but I had to do it because I love crackle, I love splatter, you guys love seeing them, and yeah, I think the guitar turned out so cool. Last week's guitar, the purple crackle LTD, sold about 1 minute after the show ended, which was insane. Week 2, the guitar sold within 24 hours. It was like 18 hours after the episode aired. It's going to France, so I appreciate you out there who bought that guitar, and I'll have a couple more custom shop builds that'll be for sale this season. Episode 3 is going to be a customer's guitar. Episode 4 is going to be another 2 customer guitars, and then I think 5 is going to have another guitar that'll be for sale. I'll give you a hint. It's an LTD made in Korea from like the year 2000. It's another crackle. It's badass. It's not quite finished yet because the episode's not airing for a couple weeks. But there's a second guitar on that same episode that's going to be the next giveaway guitar for the patrons. And it is another LTD that is so sick. Non-crackle. It's got a beautiful burst on it, actually. They're both hanging up right over here, so I'm looking right at them. But today on the show, since I covered a cool guitar on Trash to Thrash this week, that was a Jackson, made in Japan in 1994. Some of my favorite guitars are those Japanese Jacksons from the 90s. And of course the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s LTDs from Korea. Everybody knows this by now. I love those two types of guitars, and one of my favorite things to do is to go back and look at the old catalogs from LTD and Jackson and look at all the different models of guitars they were making in the 90s and the 2000s. And it's crazy because I go up, I start my day every single day at like 3 to 4 a.m. by getting up, having my first cup of coffee downstairs at the table here, and I look up Reverb and eBay, OfferUp, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. I start going around and looking to see if anybody's listed any new LTDs or Jacksons or any interesting guitars or things like that in the last 24 hours. So I'll sort the search by like newly listed or whatever first, and then I'll look down until I start to see things that were there yesterday. And one of my favorite things to do is wake up and try to find killer deals, things that I'm up before everybody else finding these deals. And there's so many guitars that you'll see in these catalogs that you never see come up for sale. So it's kind of crazy how many guitars they were making that you just never see. Many of them I've never seen for sale, and it's like so crazy to me. Like, where are all these guitars? Were they all destroyed in the 90s and 2000s? Are they in people's collections? Even on Instagram, like the concept series that I was working on last week, I've never seen a JDX or a, there's another model, I forget which one, but there's 2 other ones I've never even seen before. So they made, 1,000 of them minimum, probably thousands of these guitars. Where are they? I've come across at least 3 concept roads. This JSX I did last week was the first JSX I'd come across. There's also the Jackson Stealths, which are not the concept, but another model that you just don't come across very often from the 90s. They're not particularly valuable. They're somewhat rare, but not really. I have a Fusion, Jackson Fusion over here that's really cool. It's like a Dinky, but the size of a Les Paul, so it's a short scale. And that one's going to actually be up for sale pretty soon. I'm not even going to modify it because I got it in on a trade. And it's a beautiful guitar. It's got an amazing original paint job, came with the original case. It's basically untouched, all original. It even still has the original registration card with it. So it's too beautiful. It's a 1992 guitar. I don't think I need to mess with it and put a, even I like my paint jobs, I do, but when something is original and it's history and that guitar is 30 years old this year, I don't want to sand it down and repaint it. So I'm going to try to hopefully find somebody who wants to preserve it and keep it in their collection. I'm not much of a collector these days. I've got the guitars that I love to play, which I hardly ever even play anymore because I'm always building and making videos. But I've got my collection, and they're not particularly rare or sought-after models, but they're ones that I love, and either ones that they're perfect for my playing style, or they're just nostalgic to my life. You know, got them in when I was in like 8th grade or whatever. So I'm not going to be holding on to the Jackson Fusion, but like I said, here I got the Jackson catalog, and this is the 1994-95 Jackson catalog. It's pretty much like the hotspot of some of my favorite models. This is when they were still making the Dinky reverses, and they hadn't started making, I don't think, the PS4s yet. We'll see in a second if the PS4s were out by then. But yeah, there's the cover of it. One of the things I love right off the bat, we got an archtop, Floyd Rose equipped, gold pickup ring around that humbucker, sexy guitar right on the top, quilted maple. I feel like quilted maple, flame maple guitars weren't getting as much love in the shred metal world in the 2000s and 90s. Back then, it seems like everybody was playing solid color guitars. Black guitars were huge, I think, in the 90s. And nowadays, it's like quilted maple and flame maple is all the rage. That's what, like, you know, that's the sought after beautiful look everybody wants. So let's check this catalog out. Let's get through it. Start here. And yeah, look at this thing. So the front page, another quilted maple dual rail string through 24 fret guitar. Very cool. We got Phil Collin from Def Leppard there on the left, shredding away with those little shorts on. Oh my god, look at those shorts. And then first thing they show, so here we got the Soloists, and got a couple HSS models there on the left hand side, the Soloist XL and the Soloist Pro. So this makes me think right off the bat that single coil pickups were very popular in the 90s, where I feel like they're not quite as popular in 2022. My mind starts running all over the place when I look at these kinds of guitars. Like, how many people were doing push-pull coil taps and toggle switch? I know toggle switches were big. Sometimes even just to do a pickup selector thing. You know, they would have like 3 pickup selector mini toggles instead of like one master selector switch. So I bet you we'll see some Charvels in here, if Charvels were still in the Jackson catalogs in this year. And they'll probably have some like that. So what were the pickups they were coming with back then? Looks like we got Jackson branded pickups on all the Soloists here. On the right hand side we got some Rhodes. We got the Rhodes Pro with the shark fins. Over there on the left you can see the Soloist Pro is pretty much the comparable model to the Rhodes Pro. So they both got the shark fin inlays. Then you can step down a little bit to the Rhodes Standard, which is something like the Soloist Standard. And then there's the Rhodes EX on the bottom, which I've used the Rhodes EX before. Those are great guitars. I love that bottom Rhodes EX there, that red one. I did the white blood splatter one from like episode 5 or 6 of Trash to Thrash with that same model. And one of the things I like is obviously there's no pick guard on it, so it's got a big canvas for you to paint on. If you put a killer paint job on it, you don't have a big pick guard covering up. I like Rhodes pick guards, but sometimes if you're going to do an amazing, crazy paint job, you want to be able to show the whole thing off. Another thing I really like is it's got a blade selector switch down there. You notice that? So kind of like a Stratocaster. It's a little different. Then we got the King V, and at the time Dave Mustaine was playing the King Vs. Little fun fact for those who don't know, the King V was actually originally designed for Kerry King to play, and that's who it's named after. I always thought it was just the King of the Vs, but then years later I figured that out and I went, oh, that makes a lot more sense. You can also see Marty Friedman. So this is the Megadeth lineup here. We got the Kellys, we got the King Vs, and the Kellys pretty much have the same thing. There's the Pro, the XL, the Standard. That's kind of their thing. And same thing with the Flying Vs. But the Flying Vs were available, it looks like, with Kaler bridges too. So they have like a different type of bridge. Very interesting. There's the Mustaine Pro model. Wow, that is so cool. And you don't see those ones come up for sale very often. So that's what I'm talking about. Like those ones with that bridge on it. Is that a Kaler? APM 3300. So maybe that's even some type of Jackson bridge. Is it a tremolo bridge? Okay, so since its development, the King V Custom has been one of the more popular body shapes the Jackson Custom Shop offers. Its popularity has grown so rapidly that we now offer 2 production models. The King V Pro is built using neck-through body construction with it just says with or ebony fretboard, so I think it's supposed to be with rosewood or ebony fretboard, and a fixed non-tremolo bridge with fine tuners. Okay, so that's what that is. It's a non-tremolo with fine tuners. No locking nut at the top, so that's a little strange. You don't see that too often. The second one comes with the JT580 Floyd Rose tremolo system, so very cool. I love this blue that's right in the middle here on that Kelly on the right-hand side. I wonder what that color is. I think that's the same color as the 93 Jackson that I have. So then there's the Stealth I was referring to earlier, and look at that fretboard on it. Very interesting. It looks a little light. It's rosewood with the Eastern Maple. They were rocking the Eastern Maple necks on a lot of the guitars in the early to mid-90s Jacksons. There's the Fusion HH, and that red, transparent red, is actually the exact same one I have. So if anybody's looking for one of those or wants to buy one, send me an email, mark@guitarguts.com. I'm going to be making a video in the next couple weeks. I've got like 5 guitars here that I've gotten on trade-ins that are really awesome guitars that I've got a lot of other guitars to get to before I can work on those. So I'm going to be just selling them as is, and they're nice guitars. One of them, like I said, is that Fusion. One of them is going to be one of the Epiphone Explorers I have. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, let me know. Okay, I skipped something here. The Fusion EX down here, that one's cool. It's got the pick guard on it. They were offering the HSS setup for a lot of these models. Look at that. I didn't even realize that Stealth is a string through HHH. How weird. That's very, very rare for Jacksons. Down there you could see the REO Speedwagon guitarist Dave Amato. And he's got a double neck Jackson down there. It looks like he's got like a Phil Collen model. A lot of cool Jacksons. He's rocking the Rhodes REO Speedwagon. Didn't know he was such a metal guy. Then here we got the Dinkies. So this would be like the bolt-on ones. The soloists are the neck-throughs. And these are the ones that would be in most people's price range. The Dinky XL. We got the XL with the figured maple top, which this right here is one of those ones. You just don't see them for sale. They had to make hundreds or thousands of them back then. They don't come up for sale. It's really crazy. The Dinky EX down there on the bottom. I actually redid one of those on Trash to Thrash. If you guys remember the navy and neon green striped Frankenstrat. It was like episode 18 maybe, or 19. Right at the end of season, I think season 1. Maybe season 2. I can't remember anymore. It's all blur. But I definitely remember that guitar. And fun fact, that owner sold it. There's like 2 or 3 Trash to Thrash guitars that I eventually saw on Reverb. Pretty trippy. It's so weird to see. And it makes me question myself. I'm like, did they not like the guitar? But then the people selling them, one of them was a shop who said the guitar was awesome. It's just the owner was in need of money. So I was like, okay, that made me feel a little better. And also I followed the guy and I could see that he's got quite a few collection. He's always buying and selling guitars. Well, I'm one of those guys that sold the Trash to Thrash guitar. So here we got the Dinky Reverse on the right hand side here on page 11. And the Dinky Reverse, I own one of these. When I was a kid, that's one of the guitars that got me into wanting to play guitar and wanting to play Floyd Rose and humbucker guitars. I love the direct mount pickups on those. I love the pickups they come with. They have like a rail pickup in the bridge, and then they have like a standard open coil humbucker in the neck. The Floyd Rose, 24 frets, side dot inlays, Dinky Rev on the truss rod cover. The one I have matches the one that I saw as a kid. My friend's dad had one, and I remember we'd open the case and look at that, and we'd get to play it. And I thought the whammy bar was so awesome. I thought the whole guitar was unbelievable. I didn't even know what I was looking at when I looked at the Floyd Rose. And when I would look at the humbucker pickups, I thought it was so cool. So over the years on eBay, I collected a ton of Jacksons and eventually got the one of the exact same color my friend's dad has, which is like I think it's a candy blue. It's non-metallic, but it's a really cool color. And the other color I really like is this weird like speckled black and white, whatever that is. It looks like TV static. The one I own originally came with a maple neck, like the one here shown, but I swapped it with another Jackson, became the Alien Blood Jackson, and I sold it, and I never find 24 fret necks in maple like that from Jackson from the early 90s. They just, when they do come up for sale once in a while, they'll be like $350 plus. And that's kind of crazy because you can sometimes buy the whole guitar for $350, so, or less actually. Sometimes with a hard shell case, even less, if you get lucky. Like I said, I'm on Craigslist, eBay, Reverb, all those every single day. On the right-hand side is the quilted maple top Dinky Reverse. Another really cool model. Doug Aldridge here. He's cool. He's a shredder. Yeah, then we're into the basses, which I have very little interest in. Okay, so cool. Now we're getting to, look at that one, the JTX Standard. I don't really know that guitar. Almost Wolfgang-like. Very weird. It says it features an extra mini switch for selecting, series or parallel. So that kind of answered my question from earlier. It's got a mini toggle, so you could switch from series to parallel. Operating modes for the bridge pickup, so that gives it greater sonic flexibility than most conventional 3 pickup guitars. Yeah, that is really cool. We got the list of people who play Jackson. Anybody who stands out that you wouldn't expect. Is that lit, it says down there? That can't be the same lit from like the 90s. I mean, were they around back then? That's so funny. Aria Speedwagon guitar player. I would have never expected that. Who else is on there? Lita Ford. Oh, that's her guitar player. I was like, that's pretty cool. There's probably somebody I'm overlooking. And then here we have the Concept series. So the Concepts are the ones I really like because they were pretty affordable. The first time I bought one was in like probably 2005, and it was the cheapest Rhodes I could find on eBay at the time. It's probably 2003 actually. And I got the Jackson JRR 94. It's the one that became the Tiger Rhodes 3. I played that thing for at least a decade, probably close to a decade, till I kind of set it aside because they're string through, which I appreciate, but I'm a Floyd Rose guy through and through, and I can try my best to try to get used to something like that, but I'm always reaching for that bar. It's just like, you know, I feel like it's a little cheesy to be like, it's how I express myself, but it's true. Like, I feel it's like a form, you know, guitar is a form of expression, and I definitely like to use the whammy bar. It's like an extension of me. The kill switch is the same thing, and on next week's episode, which I know there's been some questioning of my usage of kill switches so much again on YouTube, so we'll be talking about that next week here on the show. So we got the JRR up top, then down we got the JDR, the JSX, which is the one, you can actually probably see it right behind me here, that's the guitar from this week's episode. And then we got the JDX. So the JDR and the JDX are the two that you just don't see. The JDX is strange. Is that a hardtail? Fixed bridge. JDR is like a dinky model. I just can't stress the necks on these concept guitars are incredible. I've owned a bunch of 90s Jacksons, and some of them are good, and some of them are great. I wouldn't say any of them are bad. Like the PS4s are very good. Even like later in past the 90s, as long as you're in the early 2000s still, Jackson was crushing it. I like the Japanese ones, so like the DX10, the RX10D, all those like those models, those had excellent necks too, but they aren't concept necks. The concepts were another level. I've got a couple Jackson like professional models around here, King V's. Like I said, I got the Fusion one here. I think that might be a Performer. I forget. But those have incredible necks too, so there's something going on in the early 90s that they were just making such good necks. And these concepts were crazy good. Very thin. And one thing I like about Jackson, it's actually, they use the R3 nut, so it's a little wider than a standard, like an LTD or like a Fender. Those use an R2 size nut, which is, I think, 1 and 5/8, I think is like the Strat size, but then Jackson uses 1 11/16, which gives you not much, but another 1/16 of an inch wider. And if you look, I've got gigantic hands, so for me, that's helpful to have a little bit more width around the 2nd to 3rd fret, so I can stick my fingers in all there, get my chords going. It's tough sometimes. Yeah, JDX and JDR. JDX I'm not necessarily as interested in, but if I found a great deal on one, it would be really cool to check one out and get one in my hands and just to check it off the list. Then we got these USA ones, and here's another thing. Look at that Explorer down there. You don't see those from Jackson. I don't think they make rounded Explorers like that. That's got the parallel axis trembucker. It's got the Floyd Rose. Really cool guitar. That Kelly is sick too. So we're going into the USA models, and look at these finishes they used to do. When I used to work at a guitar shop when I was like 13 years old, and we had a used skull one like that. Actually, I think it was a little different. I think it said no smoking and it had skulls on it with like cigarettes and stuff. But yeah, those old Jackson airbrush paint jobs were so cool. Then they got like a splatter marble looking bass there. The iridescent swirl Rhodes, kind of like they made those in the RR3s eventually, and Mr. Uncle Sasquatch has one of those. Almost called him Mr. Sasquatch. So formal. Not a big fan of the flames up top on that custom JDR or Soloist. But yeah, look at these. So the lightning, you can't beat the lightning. Look how vivid some of these look. I really like Coral Sea. I can't tell quite if that's like a space kind of thing almost. Turquoise Stone is badass. That hollow flake down there, killer. I would love to do something like that with like crackle or something over it. That's sick. I love the multicolored dragon there. Look at that. That is so sick. The black and white dragon's okay. Doesn't stand out. The chick on the beach, not bad, but that's a little tacky in my opinion. Like, we get it. You like chicks. Hang that in your garage. We don't need to have that on your $4,000 guitar. And then here we got the player's choice. So here, once again, I keep saying it, you don't see Jacksons like this for sale. Look at that exotic Dinky. In the 90s, I never saw anybody playing these ones. Like, where were these guitars and where are they now? Exotic Dinky, the quilted maple top. Look at that beauty. It's koa body. It's got a quarter sawn maple neck. HSS setup, gold hardware. This is my style. It looks like it's got a binding on it. Look at that 10-string Rhodes on the bottom right of page 23. 10-string Rhodes, so it's kind of like a BC Rich. They had something like this going on where 6 tuners are up at the headstock and then 4 tuners are on the body. And instead of a 12-string, it's a 10-string. So your low E and your A are not doubled up. But then your D, G, B, and E strings are all doubled up like a 12-string. So you get like the unison probably on the B and the E, and then the harmony on the D and G. It's really interesting. So you can still drop down to the low 2 strings and play power chords and then do some beautiful rhythms on the top 4 strings. Very cool. We got the King V, the original Rhodes. It's supposed to be the exact same copy, authentic reproduction of the original one that they used to make for Randy. The Phil Collin, look at that. It kind of looks like a Haxon. When I made the Haxon, it's so funny because I actually did not know that they made anything like this before. So people started telling me, and I was like, oh yeah, I see why. That looks ugly as hell to me, but I could see why, Phil Collin would want that guitar. And then, yeah, their custom shop. Got some basses, got that Explorer down there at the bottom with the reverse Jackson sharp headstock. That Kelly is cool, green with gold hardware. I love it. Oh yeah, look at all these. Silver Surfer. Look at the round corner flying V there. That is sick. I don't care as much, for the black and white dragon, but if that was all black or all white with that sharp Jackson headstock, that is badass. I was wondering if it said something about Dave Mustaine there, but it doesn't. Dave Mustaine's got a signature I think a Jackson. The Y2K. I just showed it like 2 weeks ago on the show here. But yeah, so that's it for this one, man. I didn't see any Charvels through here. In the early Jackson catalogs, they used to also have the Charvels. But man, it's so fun to look through those old catalogs. I love it. Those exotic Dinkies, the quilted maple Jacksons from the 90s, that black and white speckled or whatever it is finish on the Dinky reverses. Like, it's so cool. And you don't come across them. So if you guys come across cool guitars like this, we need to create like some type of big, kind of like the Patreon is, but like some type of group that should be free for people looking to flip guitars. I don't know how we're going to do this, but we got to create some type of group where people can go on there when they find rare guitars that other people might, in our little community might want. We can like post and share and let each other know when cool things are available for sale. And we can all snatch them up and get good deals. So that's it for this week on the show, guys. Next week I'm going to do a big Q&A. I'm going to cover some of the questions I got on the Jackson JDX and also or JSX 94. And also I'll talk a little more about the purple LTD crackle that I did a couple weeks back. I got more comments on that one about the neck pickup and about kill switches and all kinds of cool stuff. So I got like a ton of questions I'll be answering on the next episode. I appreciate you guys watching. I'm noticing the channel's growing. We're over 500 followers in 2 weeks, or subscribers on YouTube. And that is so cool, man. So thank you guys so much. Keep spreading the word. If you're watching and you're not subscribed, I'd super appreciate it if you guys subscribe. What I'm trying to do is get like a little team of editors that I can get. And I've already got a few people who seem like they're down. So I want to start doing more vlogs. I want to start doing these every single week, Sunday Morning Shred. And also, I want to get somebody to help me make promotable clips for like TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, whatever else. So we'll take like episodes of Trash to Thrash, condense them down to 1 minute or even like 15-second clips or whatever works for those platforms. And I want to get somebody who already knows those platforms. I don't want to learn a whole new platform. I got too much to do already. But if somebody out there wants to help out and can take full episodes of Trash to Thrash, condense them down, and help me spread the word of the show even more, if you're interested in helping out that way, let me know, mark@guitarguts.com. I've already got somebody who wants to help out editing the vlogs. I've got someone else who wants to help edit this show for me. And then I have a third person who can edit some clips. But the more the merrier. And if you want to get paid in guitars or in money, I'm not rich over here, but eventually if you jump on board in the beginning, I will reward you later. I will make it worth your while. I'm very loyal, so if you want to come help out, even if it's just a little bit of editing, a video every 2 weeks or something like that, I'd appreciate it. So send me an email, mark@guitarguts.com. I'm looking for people with some experience, someone who's not, I don't need to train or anything like that. If you have software like Adobe Premiere or something else, that's preferred. And if you don't have software, but you're serious about this, maybe I could hook you up with software as part of the payment. I don't know. Adobe's like $40 a month, so I wouldn't be opposed to buying people some subscriptions if they want to get into video editing and they can't afford $40 a month to start out. If you want to do some basic stuff for me, maybe I could cover that for you. So, like I said, email me. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Let me know in the comments what some of your favorite guitars in here were, and I will see you guys next week. Rock on, my friends.